That is a picture of me and Jose Zuniga back in his office in 2021. And in case you're wondering, he wasn't having fans over, I used to work for him. And now that we're in 2025, I actually met up with him again and we recorded an entire 2-hour podcast about the things that have happened in the past few years. So stick around to see segments of that in this video. It was only for 6 months that I worked for Jose, but it taught me some lessons that have put me on the trajectory of success that I have today. In case you don't know me, my name is Mohammed. I'm 21 years old and I've built a business that has allowed me to buy my dream car, move to Miami, and achieve a certain level of financial freedom. My journey started back when I was 15, when I started messing around with different methods of making money online, including dropshipping, options trading, and even flipping things on Marketplace. But I would credit the time that I spent with Jose and his team to be one of the most pivotal things in helping me develop the mindset that helped me get to where I am today. Let me give you some context as to how I actually ended up working for Jose Zuniga. It was late 2020, early 2021 when the world was just starting to open up again from the lockdown, and Jose had announced that he was moving to NYC and opening up an office. With that being said, he wanted to fill up his office with interns and people to fill the roles he had open. The way that I was making money at the time was through couch flipping. What I'd basically do was go on Craigslist, find some couches that were listed for free. I'd take the same pictures of those couches, post them on Marketplace for a few $100, and if somebody was interested, I would just pick it up from the seller's house and then drop it off at the buyer's house for the difference of $200 to $300. I was actually in the middle of a flip that I was about to lose money on when I saw Jose's post that he was looking for people to fill the roles in his office, so it was an opportunity that I didn't hesitate to take. At that point, anything was better than flipping couches. So I applied, I got accepted, and before I knew it, I was in his office getting to know him and his team personally. I took on a variety of roles while working for Jose, and everything ranging from marketing all the way down to inventory fulfillment. And at one point in time, I was even mixing fragrance fluid for a fragrance bag that he had at the time. Every position came with its own set of lessons, but the moments that influenced me the most were the ones that I least expected to occur. It would be when I'd walk into Jose's office to get an approval on an idea I'd have, but we'd end up talking for an hour about some of the challenges he faced on his journey. Or when the team would be taking a break to banter and get to know each other, but it would turn into a full-on mastermind where we're all bouncing ideas off of each other and everybody's saying, write that down, because we didn't want to miss the idea. There were definitely times when we had official team meetings to receive technical, direct hands-on instructions for the tasks that we had to fulfill. But I didn't leave Jose's company knowing how to make a better thumbnail or who the best suppliers were overseas to source a product. I walked away with a mindset and a vision that I continue to reflect on even 5 years later. So, in no particular order, here are the top 5 lessons that I've learned from working for Jose Zuniga. Lesson number 1, it's all possible. Prior to working for Jose, I was only aware of the wealth and the money that people are able to make from running an online business. We've all seen the video of the guy that made $1 million off of dropshipping at 15 years old, or the other guy that made $10 million off of trading whatever stock. But up until that point, I had only seen these people online in videos. I never had any actual physical proof that I've seen with my own eyes. This was until I saw it all for the first time in front of me while working for Jose. The office that we were working in was easily in the range of a 7-figure cost. Jose showed up to the office driving a different car every single day, everything ranging from BMWs to Porsches and Lamborghinis. He was always traveling to the nicest locations all over the world for both work and vacations, and he'd retired his family from having to worry about money ever again. There was no refuting it at that point. It was all real. I had witnessed it with my own eyes, and he got it all without any inheritance or handouts. If seeing is believing, I had all the evidence I needed now to believe that this making money online thing was real and that I could do it too. And that was a spark for me. As much as I respected Jose and looked up to him, a small part of me always said, this guy can't be that much smarter than me. If he can do it, so can I. And coincidentally enough, Jose actually had a similar experience when he was younger that also made him believe that it was possible. His mother used to work for a wealthy family that had a big house and really nice cars, and when he saw the wealth for himself, he also thought it's possible. And that was what got him started.
You said something about all it took was working next to you to see that it was possible.
Exactly.
And that is the exact same realization I had when I was young. So when I was young, my parents, they weren't business owners, right? My mom cleaned homes, my dad was a landscaper. They were extremely hardworking, which I'm sure your parents were the same. We're immigrant parents, right?
Yeah.
They came here to give us a better life.
Exactly.
They did that hard lifting. I always thank my parents because I believe they made the hardest decision any entrepreneur can make, right? Imagine moving to another country, you don't know the language, you don't know anybody, just taking a gamble for your family,
exactly.
Right? So they did the hard work. It is the bare minimum for us to retire our parents and just move our bloodline past.
Yeah.
But for me, what was eye-opening was the home that my mom cleaned was, there were these 2 attorneys. They owned the law firm. And I remember that I would go with her because, again, my mom didn't have money for daycare. So I would have to go with her and sit there while she would clean the house. And this specific family was super nice to us. They literally treated us like family, right? But now growing up, I realized that it was me going there and just seeing the houses, seeing the cars. It was enough for me to be like, I want that. And what was interesting was that I believe you would have a similar, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I tell this to my wife now, looking back retrospectively, where I remember that, for example, the husband was a G. He always had the nicest cars. So one day he had, again, at the time, 16, 15, I can't remember what age. I didn't know the difference between a 911 and a Turbo S. To me, that was like, it's just an extra S at the back.
Yeah.
But he had a 911, right? And he was paying like $2,000 a month at the time.
Yeah.
For us, because the lady tells my mom this story where she was like, oh, you know, my husband just bought this car and it was $2,000 a month. Can you believe he just traded it in for a Turbo S, paying an extra $1,000 a month? So now it's $3,000 a month.
For just a little S.
For the little S. And my mom, and they were like shocked. And in my head, like inside, I was thinking, I want that. That's all I thought about. Like, I want that. I didn't think that's unfair. I didn't think he doesn't, because you know, some people believe like when they see people be extremely successful, they're like, oh, that's not fair. We don't even have enough to eat, right? We don't even have enough to pay it. All I could think of in my head was, I want that.
What's the recipe?
Yeah, that's all I thought about.
Yeah.
Their house had 11 bathrooms. And all I could think of in my head was, I want that, right? So now retrospectively, I always tell my wife, like, man, I believe that the reason I'm successful was because of that family. Just because I was in the proximity of seeing that it was a reality and made it a reality in my head, and I pursued it relentlessly. So when you told me that, I got goosebumps because I truly believe that's the most important part.
The main takeaway is this. If wealth and success in business is something that you desire, then I highly recommend that you go surround yourself with it, experience it, and see it with your own eyes. You need to have a vision for what it is that you're going after. Whether that's going to a nice restaurant once, or being surrounded by nice cars, or going to the keynote of a successful person where you can see them in person, talk to them, and maybe ask them a question. Seeing something in person with your own eyes will have a much longer lasting effect on you than watching a million videos ever will. Lesson number 2 is chasing continuous growth. This was the entire reason that Jose even moved from Florida to New York. He already had it all in Florida. The cars, the house, a comfortable family, everything that one would want and need to consider even potentially retiring. But in his own words, he didn't want to get comfortable. So he packed everything up, his life, his family, his business, and he moved to New York where he thought he could take things to the next level. Jose showed me what it means to set a standard and hold it. In the time that I was working for him, although he already had everything, he still maintained the same monk-style routine as if he was someone that was just starting out and hungry to make things happen. This man would come into the office gym by 4 a.m., shower and prep to start the workday by 6 a.m., and once he was in his office, he was locked in front of his computer the entire day, sometimes even as late as 10 p.m. I remember actually my manager, Tomas, told me that if you want to set a good impression, you don't want to leave before the boss does. So in some nights, we had to actually stay in the office until 11 p.m. just because that was the standard that Jose set for us. This is a comparison to some other examples that I've seen that do this routine for a while, achieve a certain level of success, and then get comfortable and fall off. This concept of continuous growth wasn't just in Jose's routine, it was also reflected in the ideas that we worked on as well. Although Jose and his team had already figured out the sources of income that would continuously help the company grow, there was always space for brainstorming and trying new ideas. Everyone was innovating all the time, and it set the tone for a space that was allowing everyone to elevate. Jose has publicly said before that he wants to become a billionaire. I've seen a lot of people that also set that same goal, but the second that they get to 10 million, 5 million, or even just one, they get comfortable and they settle down. The standard I've seen from Jose, however, is the fact that although he already has this amount and more, he's not stopping, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. I'm moving to Miami now because I feel like that's the next stage that's going to help you with the business in terms of like the content, in terms of the opportunity with the automotive industry, in terms of me and my business partner actually being in the same place for the first time.
Yep.
And then being able to like bounce ideas off each other and like,
Correct.
have that growth. So now your version of that, I guess you said, was you left Florida because you got comfortable and you moved to New York.
Yep.
So what would you tell, I guess, anybody watching about how they can curate the environment around them that's going to help them succeed?
Well, I think what you're doing is smart. I mean, I've always said this, I don't think you should die in the town that you were born in. Such a big world out there, man. There's so much to...
Wait, can you say that again?
You shouldn't die in the town that you were born in, you know? And I would always think about that when I was growing up. Like, I don't want my kids to, oh, Jose, the town legend. like, no, bro. Like, there's such a huge world out there. There's so many people to meet. I went to the most expensive city in the world with the richest people in the world because I wanted that level of stress around me all the time and connections around me. And I love it. I told you, I love it here. You know, I don't think I would leave anytime soon. And for you, I think it's great as well, right? You were out here and you've always been in Brooklyn, right?
Brooklyn, then moved to Staten Island, then...
Staten Island, you're going from Staten Island to Brickell, bro.
Yeah.
Brickell's a whole different level. You're gonna meet new people, great experiences. It's gonna make you grow, you know?
To sum it up, if you're not growing, you're sinking. Lesson number 3 is that it's all harder than it looks. It's common to assume that influencers live glamorous lives and their entire business consists of nothing except them turning on a camera, talking to it, and then making money off of it. Jose doesn't make this clear on camera all the time, but he is in fact a businessman before he's an influencer or a content creator. As a matter of fact, Jose only started making content because he was trying to do marketing for a suit business that he had running at the time. The reality is there's a much bigger operation taking place behind the scenes that you simply don't see. Take it from me because I was there and I saw it and I was a part of it. The office I worked in with the rest of the team was a facility of multiple thousand square feet, and within just a few months of being there, behind the scenes operations were already starting to outgrow the space. For content, there were 2 rooms worth of editors constantly working on a variety of jobs, everything ranging from videos for the main channel to campaign content for one of the brands. The entire back end of the office was a warehouse dedicated to inventory storage and order fulfillment. The space held operations for 3 brands, and at one point in time with all hands on deck, we had about 15 people running this one department alone. The marketing department consisted of 5 people that were constantly managing different aspects of the brand's social media accounts. And this was all aside from a few other third-party contractors that we didn't know about. Even during the days when Jose was filming a video, it wasn't as easy as just setting up a camera and talking to it as most people assume. There was a major amount of planning leading up to the making of that video, and everything ranging from casting to scripting to setting up sponsorships and so much more. This is all to say that although this career does compensate very well for those who do commit to it, it's all a lot harder than it may seem. So I think the biggest thing, or the biggest difference that I learned from you about working with you so closely for some time was it's not as glamorous as it looks on camera, because people see like your life as what you consider like an influencer. Although like I know you're a businessman, but a lot of people think you're just an influencer, you're a guy that stands in front of a camera. They don't know like that you literally had almost 2 rooms worth full of editors at any given time, that you had this department, like you had multiple departments within your companies. You know what I mean? I was one of those people that I just assumed, all right, he's just, you know, probably sitting in front of the camera. It's a hobby. It's a hobby, right? You make it look a lot easier than it actually is. And so the brains that actually go behind orchestrating this whole thing showed me that a lot more than just an influencer, you're actually an intelligent businessman that was doing a lot behind the scenes. And so for me, that was the part that attracted me the most, because as much as I was like heavily influenced and inspired by the things that I saw you do, at the same time, maybe it was out of arrogance, or maybe, I mean, it helped me out, I think, because I got to where I am today. I'd always look at you and I say, he's doing great, but I don't think he's that much smarter than me. Like, I don't think he's doing anything that's completely out of reach.
You're absolutely right.
I just thought the thing that you absolutely have, which was the discipline. Jose was in fact not driving his supercars all day and vacationing every weekend. We were all in the trenches together. Seeing Jose's behind the scenes operations gave me insight for when I started my own company, and even when I started getting in front of the camera and making content myself. It helped me set my expectations for the workload to come, because I had already seen an example of someone that was much further along than me, and I had seen the operations, the amount of work that went into it behind the scenes. This allowed me to get through the hard times, given that it wasn't the first time that I'd seen something like this, rather than getting discouraged by how hard it all was to not only start the business but then grow it. Lesson number 4 is it's okay to fail. It's just a part of the process. This is something that I talk about all the time. One of the most crucial aspects of finding success is having a good relationship with failure. Despite all the grand accomplishments we see from someone like Jose, I got to see and hear from him firsthand that there were a bunch of failures that took place before finding the thing that actually worked and brought about the success. Every failure is simply an attempt that showed you one way not to do things so that you can try something different for the next attempt. There's never an option to throw in the towel and give up if something doesn't work out. It's only an opportunity for you to switch gears, adapt, and grow. I saw many examples of this while working for Jose in the inventory and order fulfillment department. There was a period of time in which multiple of the shipments that came in for the inventory for his brands were either faulty or completely ruined and damaged. Imagine you spend multiple months having a back and forth with your suppliers to get the product right, and then even after that, you need to wait another multiple months for the shipment to actually come in. And then after all that time and energy and effort and money is invested, you receive a shipment that's nothing like what you expected it to be, or it's just completely ruined from the shipping process. And even after that, because Jose held a certain standard of quality of the products that we'd actually send out to customers, we wouldn't even be able to try to sell these things, so the entire shipment would just go to waste. As I mentioned, this happened to us multiple times for multiple of the brands that we were managing. But there was never a case in which Jose said, all right, I've had enough of this, I'm shutting down the brand altogether. The response was the same no matter the size of the failure. Okay, this sucks, but let's see how we can improve and change.
And even if you do fail, who cares? And I think that's what, you know, I don't know if all immigrant families are like this, but at least our family, like, they always put a huge emphasis on failure. Like, if you fail, you get made fun of. right? Like it's this horrible thing.
That's why they choose the safe route.
That's why they always choose a safe route. But if you look at successful families, again, like the Bill Gates that we just talked about, do you know, for example, Bill Gates' daughter, let's say she fails with this app. Do you think her dad's gonna give her flack for it? They're not even gonna notice. She's just gonna do another app because her dad's so used to failing problems. It's just another, like, failing's not a big deal, right? No matter what, do it.
This is a lesson I need to remind myself almost every single day. Because I'm still very early on in my business journey, I'm still experimenting and I'm trying out a lot of new things, and I'm constantly finding things blow up in my face. And it shows me that if he's doing it where he's at, I should be able to do it as well. Lesson number 5, you need to have a why as to why you're doing all of this that extends beyond a lifetime. The luxuries that come out of pursuing business and becoming rich get boring very, very fast. We've seen many examples of people that have it all and still hate their lives. You buy the car, you buy the house, you visit all the places you've always wanted to visit, you at the nicest restaurants, and then what? Not to mention, the path to even make it there is very challenging and very few even make it. So why go through any of the trouble at all to begin with? For those who do make it, it's because they have a motive that extends beyond their lifetime. Following this motive and this mission will allow you to keep going even when times get hard, and because the mission might be that big, you might even find yourself handing the flag down to the next generation after you're finished with your set of the work. I asked Jose what his why was, and this is what he had to say.
Where my mom came from in Honduras was literally a village. Dirt road, right? That's where my mom came from. My dad came from the city. But the idea that from that bloodline, I'm not only the wealthiest, but by like a large magnitude, fires me up. And then it fires me up to think that I am that turning point. Like, I want it to be, it sounds bad, but I don't know if you've toured the JP Morgan mansion here in New York City. Did you ever tour it?
No.
Right, so JP Morgan, his mansion, he built it in Fifth Ave.
Yeah.
Right? So you can tour his mansion. He has a bunch of nice stuff. Obviously, he's a huge collector, original Bibles, like one-of-one Bibles, like the craziest things you can think of. He has in his personal collection. It was so impressive that they made his entire home a museum where you could just tour his stuff, basically. And one of the coolest things that I saw was that in his office, there's a painting of him, right? Like, I wanted to get to a point where my grandkids can be like, that was the change. That was the turning point for our entire family.
Hearing this made me reflect on my own why. I like to zoom out and think of my life from a bird's eye view, not only considering the limited amount of time that I'm going to spend on earth, but then also what's going to come in the hereafter as a Muslim. From the Islamic perspective, no matter how much all of humanity as a whole accomplishes, we all die one day, and there's no amount of money that will be of any benefit to you except for your deeds and what effect you left behind in the world. And on the day of judgment, we're going to be questioned about our actions, and our deeds are going to be weighed, and through God's mercy, we can enter heaven. And as the Quran tells us, that's the ultimate victory, and that's what I want for myself and those that are around me. This is the reason that's going to keep me going, because accomplishing this mission is something that extends beyond my entire lifetime. So long as I'm alive in this world, my ultimate goal is to use my marketing knowledge and my wealth to spread Islam as far as I possibly can. If I am to be remembered by one thing after I pass, I want it to be the fact that I spread this way of life that we call Islam to as many people as possible, whether that's billions of people or just one person. I truly believe and have seen evidence for the fact that this belief system is the solution to the world's problems on both an individual and a societal level. And if I am the reason for the improvement of even just one person's life through their acceptance of this faith, then that is enough in my eyes to feel like I have used my life to the fullest of its potential. Jose's why and my why are just two examples, and you should definitely have your own. The only criteria, as you can see presented here, is that it keeps you going for your entire life, and that it extends beyond you being able to buy that watch or buy that car or even just providing for your direct family. And surely enough, you'll never have a moment that makes you question your faith when the times get hard. I can name 100 other lessons from the time that I spent working with Jose, but I limited to the top 5 just for the sake of time. Jose, if you're watching this, I want to say thank you, brother. You're an absolute inspiration to not only me, but millions of people around the globe. I'm very thankful for the opportunities you've given me, not only while we were working together, but even after I left and we've stayed in contact. I look forward to seeing all the things you're going to continue building in the future and us meeting up to do really cool things again. If you've come this far, thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. And if you're curious at all how I make money or how I've accomplished the things that I have in my life, I left the link in the description that gives you all the details you need to know. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.